So now that we have our new shapefile made, we can start working on how we're going to display this data and so forth. If I look here under the layer properties, I can start doing things like under the Symbology tab. And here I'd like you to experiment, but if I look under quantities, for example, this would work very well with income. I can go here into median income and then do things like apply and have different kind of chloropleths, gradations showing different kinds of incomes throughout Texas. A few things to think about here is, what do these numbers mean? If I look under the classify tab here, I can get kind of a breakdown of how the numbers are showing up, and you want to have the numbers mean something. One thing that we can do is exclude zeros. If I go here, exclude medium incomes equal to 0, and now we'll just have that become excluded. Other things that I can do instead of doing exclusions is make a break for 0, and then I can rename that later as no data. So here I have break value at 0. Actually, I should make this break value 1, so it's from 0 to 1. Then here, maybe something a little less than 60,000 might be more interesting. So let's try 15,000. You can do some investigations to find out what the poverty line is in Texas by using Google and try to determine your numbers that way, so you can give meaning to numbers. Typing in poverty line in Google, I see 2009 poverty guidelines. If I click on here, you can see that they give different guidelines for different values for what's under poverty line. We're dealing with households, so we could have got data for households to find out exactly what's a better number. But for now, we can just take the average household size. And if I do the average household size, I see it's 2.59, which we can just round to 3. That's from the census website. You can just actually see it here. So if I go here, I can say, okay, what's the poverty guideline for the U.S. for 3 people is 18,000. So maybe what we can do is put a couple numbers in here, like 15,000. Maybe we can think of something like 18,000, 25,000. Well, maybe 15, then 25,000 is good. You can decide which numbers you want to do. I'm thinking that 30,000 might be a good way of doing it. One thing that's like a little bit weird about ArcMap is that if you want to add new value, the only way that I figured out to do it, and maybe you guys can find a better way, is that I have to end up going to something like equal interval, and then here you can choose more classes. Let's say I want to do 7 classes, but then I need now to go back to manual and reset all these classes. You see, whenever it's on manual mode, the classes go away, so you'll have to end up retyping everything. So 1, that's going to give me my no datas, 0 to 1, and then here I can put in the 15,000 and 20,000, 25,000, so forth. So I chose some numbers. Just make sure that your very last number is the largest number, the maximum, because that's going to be a break. If not, you're going to be excluding data. So when I hit OK now, you're going to see now a whole, maybe a different color pattern shows up. And so doing this, you can start seeing how you can manipulate the way color patterns come out. One thing that I'm going to do here is, instead of having this as a green, I can just make it as a hollow. Take off the outline color, for example, that's going to make that into a no data zone instead of it showing up as having data. You can see here there's two or a few census tracts that we don't have data on. Then we can go here and play with different values and so forth. If you go here and drop down, you can see what different color schemes would look like and so forth. Try to choose the best color scheme that you would like. One thing to consider is that maybe you should think about having lighter colors go to darker colors for more rich or something. Thinking about what colors you're using, all these other kinds of informations could be very important in visual communications. One thing that I like doing on these maps, whenever, especially statewide, you see how these little lines come out so thick that you can't see the colors anymore. A lot of times I like just taking off the outline color by double clicking these little swatches, and then on the outline color choosing no color. I think it makes a better looking map. For a visual information always depends on what you're trying to communicate, and I think that in this case it makes it look a little bit nicer, and you can see what I'm talking about when I hit apply, but it comes out a little bit clearer. Also, one thing to think about is projections, and we'll talk about that in the next one. But for now, just for this color scheme, also to fix the labels, you can go onto your table of contents here, and you can see right now it has these labels. If I go in here and I click and I type in words, later on when I make my legend, that's where it's going to pull off the information from. Again, I don't want a color for no data, so I can just do no color, or I can make it even like a light gray. That can be a nice way to show that there's no data there. And then here, so now, and then here, instead of saying 1 to 15,000, I can put here less than 15, comma, thousand, like that. It might be, and then I can even put in a dollar sign to make it easier to understand that it's dollars, or I can just leave it off. Then here, instead of saying 15,000.001, I can just say 15,000, and it's understood that's going to be 15,000 to 25,000. Throw some commas in there, and keep on continuing doing that. It's a lot more readable now. One thing to also think about, instead of saying 70,000 to the highest number, you can just put more than 70,000. Also, you can think about the colors themselves. You can always go in here and play with the colors individually, maybe make the gradation even stronger and so forth. So just consider that. And then go ahead and make sure you do save.